San Antonio City Council is likely to vote today on a revised plan for the Alamo grounds. It comes after years of debate and discussion, and this revised plan makes some significant changes to what was earlier proposed. The revised plan approved by the Alamo Citizens Advisory Council would repair the cenotaph but not move it. Portions of the road would close, but it would remain open for some parades, specifically those that show reverence to the landmark, though there are some questions about how that standard would be determined. The new plan would also use landscaping and pavers to mark the Alamo footprint, rather than lowering it into the ground and putting up barriers. The plan comes after the mayor asked Councilman Roberto Trevino, who championed the previous plan, to resign, and appointed Councilwoman Rebecca Villagran to coordinate a reset of the project. There will be time for public comment before that vote. Erica Zucco, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.